Bitcoin has bounced off of $99,000 now at 103. We have altcoins going like up 40% today. We have Zcash hitting $700. And a lot of people are wondering, should you trust this pump? Now, before I get into this, make sure you subscribe, smash this like button, share the video with a friend. Obviously, we've been in a very severe downturn. There's a lot of stipulations and speculations that we think that we're going to be in this bearish trend. We have the government shutdown, obviously, that's still not resolved. And there's just a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the cryptocurrency cycle in specific. Now, I do think that it's a really good sign to see that Bitcoin dominance is dropping, which basically means that whenever Bitcoin dominance is above like 60%, 50%, whatever the case may be, that basically means that Bitcoin covers that much market share when it comes to the whole market cap of crypto. So it's really nice to see that these altcoins are massively outperforming Bitcoin currently, and the dominance continues to drop. Now, I do think that it's way too early to call this. However, this is the sign that you want to kind of take note of, because this could be a sign of reversal. Not to mention, we have a lot of stable coins that are being minted, which basically means that liquidity is flowing back into the markets. I think that the markets are kind of pricing in and sniffing out a possible government shutdown kind of coming to an end, which is going to be very good for markets. We have Jerome Powell of the Fed chair, basically. He's going to be speaking today at 3 o'clock. I do think that he's probably going to talk a little bit more on, maybe the shutdown condition or the overall inflation or what the outlook for December is. I still think that he's going to cut rates, even though he kind of was like saying that, that's not priced in or that's not a guarantee. He has to say that because, everything kind of like lives and dies with like what he's kind of saying. And so if people just think that he's going to, roll over and just, cut interest rates down to zero and let inflation run hot, and that we're just going to continue to cut, basically interest rates, right? That's going to invite a lot of risk into the assets, and he doesn't want that to happen. He wants to control inflation while the jobs is kind of uncertain. So I just, I'm not too worried. I do think that the rate cut is going to be a lock, whether it's 25% or 50% basis cut, that remains to be seen. Now, should you trust this pump? I think that you should be very cautious. If you're somebody that is maybe exposed to low leverage, like long positions, swing positions, I think you should definitely have your stop losses in place. It's really good to see that these altcoins are starting to outperform Bitcoin. Now, the only risk I would really kind of caution is there is times in the cycle where these exchanges pump all these, dinosaur old altcoins, right? And it invites a lot of FOMO. And you have to be very careful, because I don't think until we kind of break this, bigger structure, basically Bitcoin needs to go, in my opinion, above $110,000, $112,000 on a weekly close. I think that once we do that, that's going to shift the structure, and I think things are going to look a lot more bullish. But until then, I remain highly cautious. You could make the argument that these exchanges are going to try to invite FOMO back into the market so that all these people can buy back in before either liquidating them or setting the prices lower, because basically what's been going on is there's just been liquidity being sucked from the whole market, and they need participants basically to create liquidity and just attention. They can't just have it go down only, because they're going to lose basically their customer base. And as bad as that sounds, I do think that there are some opportunities. You want to notice which coins are kind of showing strength. Right now, we obviously have a privacy sort of narrative, and then we have, I think Filecoin's going crazy. Obviously, I just said Zcash, $700. We have Near Protocol, that's like 40% today. We have Solana and Sewer kind of catching bids also. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some narratives kind of pop off. I just, like I said, I think it's a little too early to call. And if you're somebody that maybe sold everything and you're thinking about getting back in, at the very least, I would consider maybe just putting a little bit in, right? Obviously not financial advice, but don't just, buy all the way back in at a little bit. Things are up about 15%, 20%, maybe off their lows. Some altcoins are obviously up a lot higher. You never want to FOMO into the market that way. You always want to layer in, no matter what. And like I said, I'm not going to be surprised if we see this massive move being just taken away. So I do think it's kind of like a wait and see approach. But like I said, I would look for the levels of 110 for Bitcoin. And if you have maybe some altcoin exposure or maybe some long positions open, I would kind of look at the charts and see, where's my invalidation, or where would I have to, basically set a stop loss so that you don't lose so much money in case we go into this downturn. Because like I said, this could be a liquidity grab, but it could also be the start of the next major move. So just wanted to bring you guys that update. I'm off to the gym. Drop a comment if you want to know anything else in the market. I'll cover any topics you guys suggest. And as always, I'll see y'all soon. Bye.